I said I can't marry you. I won't marry you, Dintter. Leave me alone. You are nothing but a dirty dwarfed village hunter. Oh, so you didn't know I was a dwarfed village hunter when you were eating my meat and spending my money like water, Abby? No problem. Let me just show you small something. Once upon a time, in the colorful and ever-busy village of Oba, there lived a maiden whose beauty made the sun jealous. Her name, Ajiro. Now, let's not lie. When we talk about beauty, we are not talking about that your neighbor Nkechi, who wears foundation like plaster. No, we are talking about a beauty that can stop a beating drum. Ajiro was fine, like tomorrow's jollof rice. Her skin was smooth, like she was bathing with goat milk and honey. Her long legs, like a Lagos runway model. And her eyes? Her eyes sparkled like the blue waters of Oba after rainfall. If beauty were a person, it was Ajiro. In fact, in the whole of Oba, when someone looked good, the villagers would say, you don't dey near Ajiro. She was their yardstick for measuring beauty. But as the elders say, beauty wey no get sense na problem for community. Ajiro was an orphan. Her parents had died when she was very young, victims of a boat accident on River Okuna. It was a dark day in Oba, as a sad event had also taken the lives of other villagers. Since then, her sweet grandparents, especially Mama Nuku, had raised her with all the love in their wrinkled hearts. Mama Nuku really tried her best when it came to raising Ajiro. She did everything she could. She wanted Ajiro to be more than just a beautiful girl. She taught her good morals, prayed, fasted, and even gave the girl bitter herbs to chase laziness away. The woman dreamt of Ajiro becoming a wise woman, a good wife, and a responsible mother. But my dearest besties, as you and I know, dreams and wishes do not always come true. This was the case for Ajiro. Yes, Ajiro grew into a beautiful woman, a very beautiful one at that, but not the kind you clap for during village festival. Instead of being known for her character or skill, Ajiro became popular for a very strange talent. She was a professional beggar, and not just any kind of beggar. This girl had PhD in begging and masters in borrowing. I'm not even joking. The only person in the entire village that Ajiro had not begged from was the unborn child inside the womb. And that's because she hadn't yet figured out how to enter the womb to borrow baby milk. She started small as a child. Back then, Mama Nuku thought it was just childish behavior. You know how small children beg for puff puff. But as the years rolled by, it became clear that this wasn't ordinary. Ajiro didn't just refuse to stop begging. She graduated. She moved from level to level like someone being promoted in a ministry. From begging for chewing gum, she started begging for clothes, food, hair attachments, earrings, and money. Nothing was too big or small for Ajiro to beg. Work? Ajiro didn't know what that was. She was allergic to hard labor. Her motto in life was simple: why suffer when I can always beg? While other maidens were at the farms breaking cassava or in the market hawking tomatoes, Ajiro would confidently stroll through the village in borrowed slippers and someone else's clothes, raising dust like a queen. From stall to stall, she moved like breeze, using sweet voice and big eyes to collect free things. And the villagers, all they gossiped loud enough for birds to hear. Eh? See this fine girl. If to send her city she dey, modeling agency for don't carry her. But instead, she dey beg past beggar bell. Even little children began to fear her. Once they saw Ajiro coming from a distance, they would hide their snacks, tuck biscuits inside their pockets, and tighten their grip on their juice. But Ajiro always came prepared with excuses. Very stupid ones. I no get papa. I no get mama. I get ulcer. I dey suffer from spiritual laziness. I don't even know what is wrong with me. Please, I just need small help. And the worst part, without her angelic face, sugary voice, and tear on command skills, saying no to Ajiro was like rejecting a blessing. People would pity her before they even understood what she was asking for. Now, should we then talk of embarrassment? My dearest listener, Ajiro had eaten embarrassment like breakfast. She had been disgraced so many times that even shame itself was tired of shaming her. But among all the disgrace-filled chapters of her life, one incident stood out like a sore pimple on a fine forehead. It all started one sunny afternoon when Ajiro spotted Adamma, one of the village maidens, gliding through the village square like a Nollywood actress. What caught Ajiro's attention wasn't Adamma's face, no, it was the dress. Ah, that dress, the way it hugged Adamma's figure, the way the colors danced in the sunlight, the way the patterns glowed like peppered turkey in a glass plate. It hypnotized Ajiro immediately. Chai! See dress wey fit pass fit. This dress would look so good on me, Ajiro muttered, blinking like someone under spiritual attack. That evening, her mind was made up. That dress must enter her body, even if by trick. So, when she was sure Adamma had returned from selling fruit in the market, Ajiro sashayed to her hut, armed with her deadliest weapon, crocodile tears. She entered with small sobs. Adamma, my sister, please, I need your help. There is a beauty pageant in the next village. I don't have anything to wear. That's your fine dress, the one I saw you wear 2 days ago. Please, I need it. Help your sister. I promise to return it immediately. Just help me win this crown. I beg, I swear, I will return it. Adamma squinted at her like someone examining counterfeit currency. She wanted to say no to Ajiro, but her facial expression made it difficult. She folded her arms. Ajiro, this dress is my favorite and I just got it. I'm keeping it for the New Yam Festival. Please, return it after your competition. I don't want to come to your house to beg you to return it though. She even held her 2 ears like someone taking an oath. Ajiro nodded rapidly. I swear, Adamma, I will return it. You have my word. Lies from the pit of Oba Forest. 2 weeks passed like 2 months. The pageant came and went, and Ajiro, she ghosted harder than an expired MTN SIM. Adamma came to her hut several times, knocking, shouting, even peeping through the window. But Ajiro was either hiding under the bed or whispering to her grandmother to say, please tell her I'm not around. Why? Because deep in her wicked wardrobe, Ajiro had no plans to return the dress. The truth, she had already styled it with gele and beads for the upcoming New Yam Festival, forgetting that the owner of the clothes had the same plan. She avoided crossing paths with Adamma as much as she could. Finally, the long-awaited day arrived. The festival drums were beating, villagers dancing, and the maidens stepping out like models. Ajiro appeared in that dress, head high, waist twisting like borrowed snake. Her makeup was loud, her walk proud, and her evil confidence could move mountains. The moment she entered the square, mouths opened. Kai! See as that dress fit her like glove. Ajiro fine oh. I wonder whose clothes she borrowed this time. As she catwalked, smiling like Miss Oba, Adama spotted her, and her brain nearly exploded. Hey! Adama screamed like a mad rooster. So this is what you've been planning, Abi? Like hurricane, she ran towards Ajiro, grabbed her by the hair, and chaos erupted. She shouted, "You thief! You have worn my clothes to the pageant and it's not enough. Now you're wearing it to the festival too. After everything I told you, you must pull off my dress today." As she began to pull at the clothes like she was peeling yam skin, Ajiro screamed and begged, "Adama Biko, Adama Biko, not here. People are watching, Adama, please." But Adama was on fire. If not for some elderly women that rushed in to separate them, Ajiro would have danced naked that day, not in celebration but in shame. One market woman quickly removed her spare wrapper and tied it on Ajiro, who was now sitting on the ground breathing like a tired goat. Adama took her dress, dusted it and stormed off like a queen. For weeks, the whole village buzzed. From the palm wine joints to the church compound, from the markets to the stream, the story spread. Did you hear how Ajiro nearly turned the village festival to strip show? She don't beg past her destiny. She wants to add stealing to her begging talents. May God save her. Now, you would think that after such national embarrassment, that Ajiro would finally change. But no, Ajiro was irredeemable. She simply went underground for a while, laying low like a shy rat, nursing her public shame like a wound. And when it looked like the villagers had forgotten, just when the gossip began to cool down, she came back out, stronger, sharper and better at begging. She roamed the village with her head high, as if nothing had happened. People whispered and pointed at her wherever she passed. What a shameless beauty. But Ajiro didn't care. In her mind, everyone could say whatever they wanted to say, but she still remained the village's most admired maiden. And while she paraded the village square like a queen without a crown, her grandparents were slowly losing their peace. Mama Nugu especially was deeply worried. This wasn't the child she had raised. Her heart was heavy every day as she listened to the endless gossip and mockery surrounding her granddaughter. One night, after supper, the moon was full and the compound quiet. Crickets chirped in the distance as a soft breeze blew through the old mango tree beside their huts. Mama Nuku sat outside on her stool, gazing into the darkness, her wrapper tightly tied around her chest. Ajiro walked out, still humming one of her made-up songs about village boys. Ajiro, come and sit down. I need to talk to you. Ajiro rolled her eyes and dragged her feet towards the stool beside her grandmother. Mama, again? I hope this is not another lecture. Sit down. Mama's voice was firm. There was silence for a moment, the kind of silence that carries weight. Then, Mama Nuku sighed deeply, her eyes glistening. You are embarrassing me, Ajiro, she said quietly. The whole village is talking about you. You walk around like you have no shame left. Is this how I raised you? To become a burden on everyone else? To beg and lie and borrow things you never return? Tell me, where did I ever go wrong? Ajiro opened her mouth to speak, but Mama raised her hand and continued. You need to cut your throat and be content with what you have, she said sharply. Very soon your age mates will start getting married. Do you think it's just a pretty face that attracts a man? You think beauty can cook? You think it can fetch water or grind pepper or raise children? You need to get your hands busy and stop disgracing this family. Enough is enough, Ajiro. Tears slid down Mama Nuku's wrinkled cheeks. She wiped them with the edge of her wrapper. I have tried. My daughter, I have really tried. And it's so painful to watch you throw everything away. But Ajiro, in her usual fashion, chuckled and crossed her legs. Mama, I don't know why you worry yourself. It's not like I don't have shame. But you see this my begging. She stretched her arms as if displaying a grand inheritance. It's a blessing to us. Mama Nuku blinked in confusion. Yes now, Ajiro said. If I didn't beg, how would we have that stockfish I brought last week? Or the slippers I am wearing? Or even your new hair tie? Everything I get from favor. This is not ordinary begging, Mama. This is divine endowment. I am gifted. Some people walk like elephants and still remain broke. Me? I smile. Okay, maybe I cry a little sometimes and I collect. But what's wrong with that? She kept talking proudly. You see, begging is a kind of skill. Just like we have tailoring and hair making. Not everyone can do it well. You need charm, talent, emotional balance, sometimes even small acting. Me, I have all of it. I should be teaching it, to be honest. And besides, this village is full of people who like to show off. Let them give. What are they using the extras for anyway? And Mama, you see those ones that complain about my begging, Those ones are akagom, very stingy people. Those are the ones that if you like, cry from now till tomorrow. A dime you won't get from them. So leave them, let them talk. Mama Nuku stared at her granddaughter in horror. Her mouth slightly open. She could not believe what she was hearing. Ajiro, she whispered, shaking her head slowly. I can't believe I was the one who raised you. You are living in a world of foolishness and you are proud of it. Can you even listen to yourself? You don't even see how lost you are. Hey, Chim, how did we even get here? Tell me, what did I do wrong? There was a long pause. Mama Nuku looked up at the sky, the stars twinkling above her like witnesses. I just hope this your begging doesn't land you in great problem one day. One you will find so hard to come out from. Ajiro shook her head and laughed. You worry too much, Mama. Nothing will happen. A few years passed like a blur, carried away by the wind of time. Ajiro blossomed even more into womanhood. Her hips widened, her skin glowed brighter, and her smile, oh, that deceptive smile could still stop a man mid-chew at the village eatery. Despite all her past drama, her grandparents' worries, and her nationwide disgrace at the New Yam Festival, suitors came. Yes, real men. They lined up, hoping to marry the beautiful maiden of Oba. It was almost unbelievable. You see, beauty, no matter how foolish, still has admirers. And Ajiro, she was like a sugar in a village of ants. Every man who looked at her saw a potential wife, a pretty woman to show off, to love, to raise children with. But Ajiro didn't see love. No, she saw a job opportunity. To her, each suitor was a fresh ATM, ready to be inserted, pressed, and emptied. Once a man showed interest, Ajiro wasted no time. She would download her sad life story like a broken radio. My grandmother is sick. My grandfather's heart is leaking. We couldn't sleep last night. I need money for body cream. You see, my hair is old. I need to braid my hair to look good for you. My slippers are tired. I feel so ashamed when I walk through the village road with it. My belly is empty. We've not had any meal since 2 days now. And you know my parents are sick and old. The man, still drunk on her beauty, would bring out money. She would collect, then another problem would surface. And another. By the time the poor man realized what was happening, he would look into his pockets and see only dry air and sorrow. All his savings gone into solving Ajiro's never-ending problems. Ajiro's list of problems was as long as River Niger, and once she noticed the man was no longer financially responsive, she would swiftly disappear, only to reappear beside another victim with the same innocent smile and the same bag of problems. But among all her victims, one man stood out. His name was Nkem. Nkem was a soft-spoken trader who sold clothes in Oba village markets. He was not the richest, but he was kind-hearted and full of love. From the moment he saw Ajiro walking past his shop in a borrowed gown and dazzling smile, he was hooked. Nkem fell hard. He was totally smitten by her beauty. When the villagers warned him, he waved them off like mosquitoes. Ajiro is just misunderstood, he would say. She's an orphan with old grandparents. She needs all the help she can get and not judgment. The villagers sighed. Nkem, you're not in love, you're under spiritual attack. This girl must have done something to you. But love is blind and apparently deaf too. Nkem gave Ajiro everything. Money, clothes, shoes, gifts from Mama Nuku, even new clothes. Whenever he brought in new designs, Ajiro was always the first to wear it. Each day, he hoped she would see how serious he was, how deep his love ran. But Ajiro saw none of that. She only saw a wallet with legs. While Nkem's shop became emptier by the day, Ajiro glowed brighter in the village. She wore different colorful outfits every day like a fashion queen. She walked around the village square like royalty, greeting people with a wave, as if she owned the village breeze. Nkem was going down and decided it was time he settled down. Then, one day, Nkem, with trembling hands and love in his voice, knelt before her beside the stream. Ajiro, he said, I love you. I love you so much from the depths of my heart. Will you marry me? She looked at him like he had just asked her to drink muddy water. Marry you? She scoffed. Then she burst into laughter. I mean it, Nkem said. I want to marry you, Ajiro. Ejiro's face twisted into a frown as she stared at Nkem. I am sorry, but I can't marry a man as poor as you are. Look at your shop, it is almost empty. What do you want us to survive on? Oh, you still want me to continue my begging business in your house? It's impossible now. I want a wealthy man, someone who can give me a good life, someone whose business can never run dry because of lack of management. Maybe take me to the city, give me a soft life. And until you become that man, you don't fit into my future. That moment broke Nkem. He stared at Ajiro as tears glistened in his eyes. He had never met anyone so heartless. After everything he had done for her, he didn't cry in public. He just knelt there, heart bleeding, his soul torn. A once cheerful trader, now looking like a man who had been spiritually flogged. Ajiro walked away, hips swaying, already smiling at another man in the distance. Just like that, she had used and dumped him. Nkem almost died of heartbreak. Then came one fateful afternoon. The sun was very high and angry in the sky. beaten down like it had a personal issue with the villagers. The dust on the road danced lazily and the birds had gone into hiding. Ajiro was returning from the river, a calabash of water balanced on her head, her wrapper slightly damp from splashes. As she strolled back home, daydreaming about her next mission, something caught her eye. From the edge of the bush path, a dwarf emerged, holding not one, but two fat bushmeats by the tail. It was as if God had dropped blessings from the trees. Her eyes widened. Her stomach did a backflip. It had been a long time since she had tasted bushmeats, especially grass cutter. The kind that melts in your mouth when pepper soup is bubbling over firewood. In that moment, Ajiro didn't see a man. She saw pepper soup, scented leaves and joy. The dwarf was Dintter, the village hunter. Everyone in Oba knew Dintter. He was skilled, sharp-eyed and quiet like a whisper. He rarely mingled. No one really knew much about him. Some even said he lived alone. Others said spirits whispered to him in the forest. For reasons unknown, most villagers stayed away from him, though they gladly bought his bushmeats on market days. But Ajiro didn't care about him being a dwarf, a spirit or anything the villagers tagged him to be. All she saw was opportunity and pepper soup. She stopped by the path and waited like a lioness watching prey. As he approached, she flashed her signature smile, that same smile that had melted in Kem's bank account. "Good afternoon, Dintter," she said sweetly, her voice floating like music. "Your hand looks good today." Dintter paused. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, and then he smiled. "Greetings, the beautiful one of Oba," he replied calmly. "I've heard of your beauty, but I never imagined you were this captivating." Ah, that was all Ajiro needed to hear to activate full flirt mode. She batted her lashes. "You flatter me, great hunter. But tell me, what do you have for a pretty maiden who's had a long hot walk from the river?" Dintter chuckled. He looked amused, like someone who had just been offered a new kind of challenge. "A gentleman never says no to a pretty lady," he said with a smirk. "So tell me exactly what you want." Ajiro didn't waste time. She knew what she wanted. A hot pot of pepper soup, made with soft bushmeat, won't be bad at all, she said, almost licking her lips. To her surprise, Dintter burst into laughter. A loud, deep laugh that echoed into the forest. Ajiro blinked. She never even knew Dintter could laugh, let alone laugh like that. Without another word, Dintter nodded and began walking alongside her. When they reached her compound, he calmly handed her one of the bushmeats, a large fresh grass cutter that looked like it had been eaten from the king's farm. "Here, for your pepper soup," he said, then turned and walked away just like that. Ajiro stood there stunned. Was this real? Had she just bagged a full grass cutter with a small smile? She rushed inside, dropped the meat like treasure and whispered to herself, "There must be more from where this came from." And that was how Ajiro began drawing close to Dintter. Drawing close to Dintter turned out to be the best decision of Ajiro's begging career. Because not long after their little bushmeat interaction, Ajiro discovered something that nearly made her faint from excitement. Dintter was rich. Not just rich. He was mysteriously deeply rich. How? Nobody knew. But Ajiro didn't care if he made his money from bushmeats, bush spirits or bush business. All she saw was an open vault. Dintter was generous, quiet and steady. a combination she called her own answered prayer. Did she have feelings for him? Absolutely not. Was he her type? Never. Would she marry him? Over her dead body would she marry a dwarf? But dating him, that was a strategy. In her mind, she had declared Operation Suck Him Dry and began executing the mission with the focus of a general at war. After all, Dintter wasn't the first man she had taken on a begging spree, and certainly wouldn't be the last. From that day on, bushmeat never stopped entering Mama Nuku's kitchen. Grass cutter, antelope, rabbit, squirrel. Ajiro's soup was always bubbling, always rich, always smelling like something that could raise the dead. On the rare days Dinter's trap failed, he still didn't come empty-handed. He would show up with a basket of fruits, mangoes, bananas, oranges, like a husband from a Nollywood romance scene. But not everyone was smiling. Mama Nuku, with her old eyes that missed nothing, sat one morning plucking scent leaves by the kitchen window and watching her granddaughter receive a bag of groundnuts and pawpaw from Dintter. She sighed heavily, then called Ajiro after he had left. "Ajiro, come here." "Ma," Ajiro said, chewing boldly on a piece of meat. "Hope you plan to marry this one," Mama asked, her eyes squinting in worry. Ajiro licked her fingers, unbothered. "Sophia kwa Mama. He's nice though, but he's not really my type. Can't you see that he's a dwarf? Is that what you want me to end up with? I want a real man, a complete man, Mama. A wealthy man from the city, not a local dwarf hunter that smells like firewood." Mama dropped her leaf and glared. "Then stop collecting things from him, Ajiro. It is wrong." Ajiro scoffed. "But he hasn't asked me to marry him now." Mama Nuku's eyes widened. She stood up slowly and pointed a wrinkled finger at her. "Don't be a fool, Ajiro. You know he likes you. He gives you all these things not because of his kindness, but because he hopes something will happen between you two. If you know you can't marry a dwarf and don't feel the same way, then stop collecting from him. It is not food you are eating, it is his heart." But Ajiro, she had no time for such talk. Would she listen? Story. Mama Nuku's warning flew over her head like birds during Harmattan. Her long throat wouldn't let her resist bushmeat. Her heart wouldn't allow her to live the soft life. So she continued. And it wasn't just about meat anymore. Every day, Ajiro sharpened her lies like a tailor sharpens scissors. She came up with new problems, fresh tears and pitiful stories that could move a stone. And Dintter, he never said no, never complained, never questioned her stories. He just gave and gave and gave again. Trust Ajiro, she stuck like glue. She had hit a national treasure. This one wasn't like Nkem. This one was loaded. And with Dinter's money, she was living her best life, shining like polished calabash, glowing like a pregnant moon. Ajiro had lied to Mama Nuku. Several times, Dintter had calmly told Ajiro, "I want to marry you." And every single time, Ajiro would flash her sugary smile, toss her hair like a Nollywood diva, and say something sweet and vague like, "Let's not rush things, To her, his marriage talk was background noise. She wasn't in love, not even in like. As long as the bushmeat flowed and the money poured, she would keep entertaining the idea. But as the saying goes, even a river can dry up. Ajiro kept eating, spending and collecting, until one day, Dintter went broke. She showed up that afternoon, eyes red, voice cracking, holding her stomach like hunger had just relocated there. "Dintter, please, I haven't eaten since morning. Mama Nuku is sick and I had a bad dream. Dintter, seated quietly on his wooden stool, looked her in the eye and said, Ajiro, I have no money left. She blinked, thought it was a joke, maybe the start of one of his dry jokes. Aha, very funny, she giggled nervously. So, how much do you have now? I said I have nothing, Ajiro. Nothing? 2 days later, she tried again. More tears. A new sad story about how she needed to buy salt and cooking oil. Still, nothing. That was when Ajiro decided she had had enough. No money, no attention. It was time to move on. Dintter had served his purpose and it was time to look for another generous soul to exploit. But what Ajiro didn't know was that Dintter was not like others. 3 days after he last saw her, Dintter stormed into her compound, clutching a small keg of palm wine. Not in peace, but with fire in his eyes. Where is Ajiro? He asked, his voice firm. She wasn't home. Probably at the market or the stream, flashing her teeth and swinging her waist at the next unsuspecting man. So, Dintter turned to Mama and Papa Nuku, set the keg down and spoke plainly. I have come to ask for Ajiro's hand in marriage. The old couple looked at each other, surprised. But she's not around. She will come back. Tell her this. Ajiro has finished all my money. She has eaten, shined, dressed, and danced with my sweat. I must marry her, or, he paused, his eyes blazing, she will vomit everything she has eaten. Mama Nuku felt a chill crawl up her spine. That man was not smiling. The fire in his eyes could roast plantain. That evening, when Ajiro returned glowing and humming as usual, Mama Nuku met her at the door, panic written all over her wrinkled face. Ajiro, Dintter was here with wine to ask for your hand in marriage. Ajiro stopped mid-step. Sophia, she hissed, flinging her arm. Mama, I can't marry him. He's a dwarf, an incomplete man. I don't like him, Mama. Mama Nuku was shaking. Ajiro, he didn't come here smiling, no. He said you must marry him and that he'll be back. I don't like the look in his eyes. Ajiro waved it off, her voice casual. He can't do anything, Mama. Don't worry yourself. All of us joined together can even beat him up. That short thing that looks like roasted yam. But Mama Nuku was worried, very worried. The next day, Dintter returned, and the next, and the next. Each time, Ajiro was not around, avoiding him like pepper in the eye. And finally, on the 5th day, standing at the entrance of their compound with clenched fists and a dark expression, Dintter spoke through gritted teeth. That girl thinks I'm like others in this village. She thinks she can eat my money and run. I will deal with her. It's either she marries me or she vomits everything I have given to her. One evening, as the sun slowly dipped behind the trees and cast long shadows on the red dusty road, Ajiro was on her way home from the market, balancing a basket of tomatoes on her head and humming her usual sweet tune, probably thinking of which man she would milk next. She turned a corner near the old mango tree when a familiar figure stepped out from behind the bush path. Her heart skipped. It was Dintter. Finally, I meet you, he said, with a smile that carried more threats than joy. His eyes didn't blink, and the way he stood, arms folded, gave her no room to escape. I am sure your grandmother has been passing my messages. And you've been running. But tonight you must decide. His voice was calm, but it sliced like a razor. It's either you pay me back for everything you've collected from me, or you marry me. Ajiro stood still, then slowly tilted her head back and bursted into laughter. A loud mocking laugh that echoed down the path like a woman possessed by comedy. You must be insane, Dintter. Me? Marry you? Is marriage now by force? Did I tie your hands and force you to give me anything? You gave me all of those things willingly, out of your so-called benevolence. I only asked, and you were the one throwing gifts around like you were doing giveaway. Her voice was loud, sharp and proud. But Dinter's face slowly transformed. His smile vanished. His jaw tightened. The light in his eyes darkened into something unholy. You can't run from me, Ajiro. You must marry me. Fear gripped Ejiro's throat. Her laughter vanished as quickly as it had come. I said I can't marry you. I won't marry you, Dintter. Leave me alone. You are nothing but a dirty dwarfed village hunter. She shouted, backing away. Dinter's eyes narrowed. This one really hit him hard. Oh, so you didn't know I was a dwarfed village hunter when you were eating my meat and spending my money like water, Abby? No problem. Let me just show you small something. With that, Dintter reached into his bag and pulled out a strange wrapped leaf bundle. Before Ajiro could blink, he began chanting incantations, low, deep and steady, like the wind whispering to the spirits. His voice grew louder as he unwrapped the leaf and revealed a fine powder. Then, with one loud chant, he blew the powder into Ajiro's face. For a moment, everything stood still. Then, boom! There was a loud rumble in the sky, like thunder rolling through the heavens. The leaves around them rustled violently and a cold wind swept across the path. Ajiro screamed, "What is happening? My head! My head!" Before her eyes, her head began to grow, slowly then faster. Her skull stretched, her forehead expanded. Her beautiful round face started to swell like overfed yam. No, what is happening to me? My head is getting bigger. Dintter, my head! She cried, dropping her basket as she fell to her knees. Dintter stood back and laughed, deep and wicked. This is just the beginning, Ajiro. His voice thundered as he turned to leave. Until you agree to marry me or return everything you ate, you remain like this. He stomped off angrily, leaving Ajiro on the red earth, clutching her oversized head in terror. Ajiro tore through the village paths, clutching her swollen head, screaming like a mad woman chased by thunder. My head! My head! Somebody help me! Oh! Somebody help! The villagers came out in droves, drawn by her voice and the sound of chaos. But when they saw her, gasp, screams, fingers pointing, mouths wide open. Who is that? Is that a masquerade? Is it a spirit from the hills? Her face had become unrecognizable. Her once perfect head had become a massive balloon, wobbling on her neck like a cursed guard. Some villagers ran after her in confusion, others out of fear. But when they saw her dive into Mama Nuhu's compound, their confusion melted into disbelief. Ajiro, Chineke, it's her! And just like that, the news spread like wildfire. Ajiro had been cursed. It serves her right. I knew she would meet her match one day. All that begging. Now see where it had landed her. Hey! Tofiakwa, the villagers hissed, snapping their fingers and shaking their heads. Inside Mama Nuhu's hut, Ajiro lay on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. her heavy head resting on a pillow of old wrappers. "Mama, it's Dintter. He did this to me. He said unless I pay him back or agree to marry him, I will remain like this. But Mama, I can't marry him. He's a dwarf. I can't do it. Please, let's find another solution. I am dying gradually. My head is too heavy, Mama." Mama Nuku stood over her, arms crossed, her eyes brimming with sorrow and frustration. "I warned you, Ajiro," her voice cracked. "I begged you to stop. I told you that this path you are following will destroy you. But no. You said you knew what you were doing. Now, look at you. See what long throat has cost." Ajiro cried louder. "Mama, I swear, I will change. I will stop begging. I will tie my throat with chain if I have to. I will never beg again in my entire life." Mama Nuku didn't waste time. She went from one herbalist to the next, journeyed through thick forests, crossed small rivers, offered goats and consulted ancient healers. But nothing worked. No one had a cure for Dinter's powder. Some didn't even believe it was ordinary. At last, with her back against the wall and tears in her eyes, she came home and sat beside her miserable granddaughter. "Ajiro, the truth is simple. She must marry Dintter. That's the only way. We have no money to pay him back. Only he can reverse what he did." Days passed, and Ajiro began to fall apart. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She could barely walk. Her head felt like 7 mountains stacked on her neck. She groaned day and night. "So this is how I will end up. Me, Ajiro, the finest girl in Oba, marrying a dwarf," she wept. "Why didn't I listen?" By now, the entire village knew the full story. Some were sympathetic, others were delighted. She has met her match. How can someone so fine choose to be lazy and useless? She thought she could keep deceiving men, let her carry her cross. Finally, one afternoon, as the sun burned down on the earth and her body shook from pain, Ajiro let out a heart-shattering scream. "Mama, call Dintter. Tell him to come and pay my bride price. I will marry him. I will marry him, Mama. This pain is unbearable." Mama Nuku wasted no time. She sent for Dintter immediately. It took a few days of pleading, but he finally arrived, standing tall, well, short, but with presence at their doorstep. "Has she agreed to marry me?" he asked calmly. Ajiro, tears flowing, nodded from her mat. "Yes, I will marry you. I am dying. Please, just help me." Dintter said nothing. He stepped forward, unwrapped a fresh green leaf, and began chanting in that same low, deep voice. He moved around her in circles, dancing, clapping, and muttering words no one could understand. The villagers peeped through the compound walls, shocked. This wasn't just a hunter. Dintter had powers, real powers. A sudden breeze swept through the hut. The old curtains flapped, and then, as if air had been released from balloon, Ajiro's head began to shrink, slowly, then faster, until finally it returned to its normal size. She gasped, touched her face, and dropped to her knees in relief. "Thank you, Dintter. Thank you," she whispered. And just like that, the next day was fixed for the traditional marriage rites. All through the rest of that day, Ajiro lay coiled up inside her hut, eyes swollen, heart heavy, her lips quivering with dread. She stared blankly at the mud wall. How was she going to marry a dwarf? The thought alone sent shivers down her spine. Dintter, short, quiet, strange Dintter, was now her husband-to-be. Her body trembled at the idea. She had no one to blame but herself. She thought of the meat, the money, the lies, the pride. Her stomach turned. What am I going to do? She whispered to herself, holding her head. Then an idea struck her. A foolish, desperate idea. That night, when the village was still and the moon had hidden behind the clouds, Ajiro packed a small bundle of clothes, tiptoed past her snoring grandparents' hut, and vanished into the night. She was going to flee, run to a faraway village where no one knew her name, especially not Dintter. She would start a new life. Dintter would look for her, get tired, and eventually give up. Maybe he would even find another woman, and she would be free. Or so she thought. That was how Ajiro found herself in the middle of the forest, navigating by moonlight, pushing through branches and muttering to herself like a mad woman. But something strange happened. She began to walk in circles around a tree, over and over. Left, right, then back again. The same tree, every time. It was as though she was bound to that spot. Invincible chains dragging her back to that cursed tree. What is going on? I want to go. Why am I still here? She screamed. No answer, just darkness. And as the night grew darker, then came the mosquitoes. Armies of them, battalions, generations. They feasted on her mercilessly, buzzing in her ears, biting her arms, her legs, even her eyelids. Her wrapper was soaked with sweat. She scratched until she bled. That night, Ajiro screamed until her voice cracked. No one heard. The forest swallowed her cries. By morning, back in Oba, Mama and Papa Nuku were in panic. They had woken up only to find out that Ajiro was nowhere to be found. Maybe she went to the stream, they muttered to themselves. But as the sun came up in the sky, Ajiro was still not home. Where is she? She is not on the road. She is not at the stream. Ajiro has disappeared, Mama Nuku cried. Their legs shook. Dintter and his kinsmen were expected to arrive that morning. And now, the bride-to-be was gone, vanished. Soon, the sound of footsteps and greetings filled the compound. Dintter had arrived, with men behind him, proud, calm, and still dangerous. They exchanged greetings, but as soon as the marriage rites were about to begin, someone asked the golden question. Where is the bride? Mama Nuku stammered. She went to the, she's not, we can't find. She ran, Dintter said flatly, cutting through the awkward silence. He looked straight at them. She tried to run away from me, so I pinned her to the forest. There were gasps. She thinks I'm a joke, eh? That she can chop all my bushmeat and money and vanish like thin air. Let her rot there. She will die in that forest if she doesn't learn her lesson. Mama Nuku fell on her knees weeping. Please, my son, don't let her die. She's our only child. Please, she will marry you. I know by now she has learned her lesson. Please, Biko, have mercy. Soon, the entire gathering joined in pleading. Uncles, aunties, neighbors, everyone begged. Dintter stood still, arms folded, his expression unreadable. After a long tense silence, he finally nodded. I will free her, but only on one condition. They all listened. breath held. She must return to this village, come to my house herself, and beg me to marry her. If not, I won't say much. By now, she should know who I am. He then gave them instructions, a ritual to perform to break the forest binding. Without wasting time, Mama Nuku, Papa Nuku, and some of their kinsmen rushed into the forest, carrying palm oil, kola nut, and a guard of river water. They followed the path, and then they heard it, a weak, hoarse voice, sobbing. They found her, covered in mud, mosquito bites, and shame. Her eyes were red and swollen, her arms bruised from scratching, her hair tangled and full of leaves. They did exactly as Dintter instructed, and in a few moments, Ajiro was released. She fell into her grandmother's arms, shaking with sobs. That night had taught her two things. One, Dintter was not just an ordinary man. He was something more, something not to be messed with. Two, there was no escape for her, not anymore. The price of her greed and long truth had come due, and she had no other option than to marry Dintter. She, Ajiro, the once proud beauty of Oba, was now reduced to nothing. And so, with swollen feet, scratched skin, and a bowed head, she walked back home in silence and shame. Still trembling from the horror of the forest, and scared of what Dintter might do to her next, Ajiro showed up at Dinter's compound by evening, her wrapper dusty, her voice hoarse, her pride completely shattered. She knelt before him, tears pouring down her cheeks, like a child who had seen a ghost. "Please, I am begging you, come and marry me. I want to run again, I swear. Just don't punish me again. Don't pin me to another tree. I am ready now." Dintter stood above her, arms folded, watching her silently for a long moment. Her once defiant eyes were now dull, beaten down by consequences. Her beauty remained, but the arrogance that came with it had vanished like smoke. When he was satisfied that her ego had been completely deflated, he gave a small nod. "All right, I will marry you." And just like that, the marriage was set. But oh, what a ceremony it was. The saddest wedding the village of Oba had ever seen. There were no screams of joy, no ululation of excitement, no maiden dances filled with laughter. Only one person wore a smile that day, Dintter. As the crowd gathered in the village square, eyes searched for the once radiant bride, and when they saw her, they gasped. Ajiro's face was puffy and red from endless nights of crying. She danced like a mourner at her own funeral, her feet moving slowly, her hands barely raised, while tears trickled steadily down her cheeks. The villagers came, not to rejoice, but to witness history. No one wanted to hear the tale secondhand. They all wanted to see it with their own eyes. Chai! So this is how Ajiro ended up with a dwarf, some whispered in pity. From queen of beauty to wife of the village dwarf hunter. One that shall never end. Men she had used, milked, and dumped in the past were the most excited. They sat in the corner grinning from ear to ear, whispering to each other. She thought she was untouchable, but see her now. Dintter showed her pepper. After the ceremony, Ajiro moved into Dinter's hut, a quiet home at the edge of the village. And that was how Ajiro, the beautiful maiden of Oba, the famous beggar with a long throat and a sugar-coated tongue, ended up with a strange village hunter. Her days of sweet talking and borrowing ended. Her dreams of city life vanished like morning mist. All that was left were regrets, sorrow, and silence. her once golden beauty now served as a warning to every young girl in the village. Beauty without wisdom is like a pot of soup with no salt, and long truths will always lead to bitter tears. Hey besties, we've come to the end of this story, and thank you so much for watching till the very end, and I hope you enjoyed it and learned one or two lessons from it. I would love you to kindly share your thoughts in the comments section. And please, if you enjoy our stories and you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please do not skip this video without hitting the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories. Thank you so much for all your love and support. They mean so much to me, and I know I can't do anything without you all, my faves. Right now, I'll have to go and see you in our next story. Bye!